It has been 1 year since I took delivery of my Tesla Model 3. So how do I feel after almost 30,000 miles, and would I do it again? What do you think? About a year ago, I drove to Rockland, California with my wife and son to pick up our Tesla Model 3. It was an exciting day for all of us, and my wife got to drive it for the first time, adding her to the big list of people completely sold on Tesla. She was hooked when she stepped on that accelerator. Now, up until a year ago, owning a Tesla was something I could only dream about. The Model S and the X are way out of my price range, and quite honestly, the price of the Tesla Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive is a bit north of my comfort level. But I made it work without breaking the bank. So how do I feel after 1 year of ownership? Is it everything I dreamed about? And was it worth the hit to my bank account? Now, I was fortunate enough to test drive a friend's Model 3 a few months before picking up mine.
Stop it.
All right, here we go. Oh, yeah. That is awesome. Okay, and once I got in, I was quickly reminded why I decided to take the plunge in the first place. Not even a block from the Tesla lot was a green light that turned yellow, and I stepped on it to make it across the intersection. Everyone in the car had smiles from ear to ear, and the look of exhilaration on my son's face was priceless. It was and is by far the smoothest car I have ever owned, and upon getting onto the highway for the first time, I quickly realized I was going almost 90 miles an hour. Now, upon walking up to the car, my first impression was realizing just how stunning this car is. I mean, even a year later, sometimes I have to do a double take when walking away from the car. Once I figured out how to open the door, I think I heard angels sing. The overall simplistic design is unique to any car on the market, and even after a few months of driving the Model 3, any other car seemed cluttered with knobs, buttons, and levers. The Model 3 achieved this simplistic design by incorporating almost everything in the generous 15-inch display. Even functions as simple as adjusting the air vents and, yes, even the glove box. And how about that 15-inch screen? The simple user interface makes navigating through the car's functions a breeze and is typically looked at in awe by any passengers that get in for the first time. It gets better with time. Now, this is an expression, quite frankly, that has been overused in the Tesla community. However, there's a reason it gets overused. Because it does get better with time. Now, I am, of course, talking about software updates. And in the year that I've owned the car, I've had on average 1 to 2 software updates a month. Some more exciting than others, but updates nonetheless. Now, some are as simple as bug fixes, and others are more complex and useful, such as improvements to autopilot, the addition of dash cam and Sentry mode, and the list goes on and on and on. So far, I have put the Tesla Model 3 in a bubble of perfection, but it's obviously not a perfect car. And the first indication my car isn't perfect is when I notice off the bat a fit and finish issue. The door panels on the driver's side don't match up perfectly. Now, several months later, I did have access to his Tesla service technician, and he gave me excuses 10 stories high about why it doesn't need to be fixed. And quite honestly, I thought I was talking to a politician. And he obviously got to me because I didn't feel like taking on that battle, and most likely never will. Now, the reason I was talking to a technician is because I was dropping my car off to have the front of the car repainted, because there were a lot of bubbles in the paint. Now, it took about a week, but they gave me a Model S 75D loaner. And my overall experience with the Tesla Service Center was a good one. They made good on their promise and had everything done right on schedule. However, shortly after getting my car back, one of the parking sensors wasn't working. Now the Tesla mobile service came by and to check it out, and it turns out someone didn't attach one of the sensors when reassembling the front bumper after repainting it. Now there are other small issues I've come across, such as the phone not unlocking the car, which is an issue that has come up less in the last 6 months or so, and most likely from a software update. There was also a bug where the backup camera wasn't activating on a regular basis, and this is actually a common problem. But Tesla has fixed the problem thanks to a recent software update. Now there was another time the car wouldn't go into drive, but I was able to fix the problem by rebooting the car. I've only had that problem come up once. I also had the charging cable get stuck in the car, but after referencing the owner's manual, I learned how to manually release the charging cable. No big deal. Now there may be a few others that I'm forgetting about, but this makes me think about electronic devices I've had in the past that have had reoccurring issues, and over time you get more and more frustrated with that device. However, with my Tesla Model 3, there may be a few of those reoccurring issues like the door not unlocking with the phone, but I've never gotten frustrated with the car because its overall performance more than makes up for those minor little problems. Now earlier I referenced the software updates, and like anyone else, I have a few things I would like to see added to the car. So let's start with the music service. All Teslas, at least the ones in the US, come with a free subscription to Slacker. Now I've never heard of Slacker Radio before, and now I know why. It's terrible. Spotify would be a much better option, or better yet, as an Apple Music subscriber, CarPlay would be a nice feature. But in the meantime, I listen to my Apple Music just fine via Bluetooth. But it would be nice to be able to navigate music selections through the generous 15-inch display instead of my phone. Navigation in the Tesla Model 3 is fantastic. However, if there was only one thing I could change about it, I would choose the addition of multiple waypoints. Now as it stands right now, the car gives you one choice to get from point A to point B without being able to add detours or your own personalized route. Now there is someone who took matters into his own hands and developed a program called a Better Route Planner. And although it's great for pre-planning your trip, it's still not where it needs to be for in-car navigation. But that's another video for another day. Now one cool thing you can do is send directions from your phone to the navigation system in the Model 3. However, it would be nice if you could send notifications or notes to the screen through the app. A quick reminder or a note from your spouse that you're out of milk would be a nice feature. Voice recognition in the Tesla Model 3 is surprisingly very accurate. So much so you can actually see the car correct itself on the screen as you're giving a command. Now it seems to be a shame this isn't utilized better for car commands, such as adjusting the temperature or the fan speed of the climate control, or something as simple as locking the doors. Voice commands has a lot of potential and could be a much more powerful tool. Although it has only been 1 year, the overall wear and tear isn't going to be all that noticeable. However, I have taken the car on 2 4,000-mile road trips along with several trips to the coast and back. I also have a 10-year-old who has friends with him at times, giving the back seat a run for its money. So how has the interior of the car fared overall? Well, the back seats seem to be fairly durable and have withstood the beating from my 10-year-old son and his friends. However, the back of the front seats have some permanent scratches and scuff marks from my son's and his friend's little feet kicking them. Up front, the seats are showing very little wear, if any at all. However, it seems the glove box has taken a beating and has a lot of permanent scuff marks. The felt of the trunk is also showing signs of wear, with fraying from suitcases, other items, and of course putting my son's BMX bike in the back of the car when we go to the skate park. Now other than that, as far as I'm concerned, the car still looks brand new. Now at first glance, the exterior of the car still looks great, but upon taking a closer look, there is some noticeable wear. After a lot of highway miles, the paint on the front of the car has a lot of nicks and chips, most likely from small pebbles and rocks. There also seems to be some wear near the wheel well in the back. It looks like an area that gets hit with a lot of debris. There's also a plastic fitting in front of the passenger side view mirror that has come loose, and I'll most likely have the service center take care of that. I'm not as big on modifications as some can be, especially when it comes to altering the overall appearance of the car. Now, I haven't done anything to the exterior of the car, but inside I did put a wrap on the center console. Now, the original piano black finish is beautiful for about 2 seconds, but easily scratches and attracts dust and fingerprints. I also purchased third-party floor mats to help with dirt, sand, water, and mud. And so far I'm pretty happy with them. We would buy them again, and will most likely purchase one for the frunk and the trunk. I put decals on the buttons that open the door from the inside, and although they look good and they make sense and instinctually you would think that people would see it, unfortunately they don't, at least the people that get in my car that are new to it, and they still instinctually go for that release lever. The thing is about that button, it's just not an automatic response. And even if you had a flashing light coming from that button, most likely they still wouldn't see it. Now, I have been thinking about purchasing an insert for the deepest part of the center console to better utilize the space. Now, right now I only have a few items in there, but it can turn into a bit of a junk drawer and can be difficult to find things because it's such a deep space, and that's where an organizer would be nice. Battery degradation is a reality all EV owners have to face. Some come out better than others, but in the end, there will be some loss during the life of the car. Now, my situation is a little confusing because I did get the 15-mile upgrade several months ago and went from a 310-mile range to 325 miles. Now, shortly after that, I started to watch my numbers slowly drop back down to 310, which is about where I am now, give or take a few miles. Now, it seems I'm not the only one to see the big drop in a short period of time, especially for those who got the upgraded range. So, if you base my degradation off the 325-mile battery, I have lost about 4 to 5% of my range. However, if you go off the original 310-mile battery, it would be somewhere between 0 and 1% loss. Now, I'm still very happy with my range, and unless I see another dramatic drop, I'm going to leave well enough alone. The Tesla Model 3 is by far the best car I've ever owned, without a doubt. My very first car was a mustard yellow 1980 Volkswagen Rabbit that cleaned up my high school savings account of $1,500. Literally 30 years later, here I am driving what many call the future of driving technology. Now, what's not to love about this car? Minus tire rotations, there's practically zero maintenance. I've used 0 gallons of gas, and the car has emitted 0 emissions. Well, there is that. And finally, I have 0 regrets. This car is fast, it's fun to drive, and one of the safest cars on the road. And for the billionth time this has ever been said in the Tesla community, this car does and will continue to get better with time thanks to future software updates. Well, that's my take of the Tesla Model 3 after a year of ownership. If you're new to the Tesla community, first of all, congratulations. And secondly, I would love to hear about your experiences so far with your Tesla. What do you love about it? What would you change, and do you have any regrets? Feel free to post your responses in the comments section below. Well, that's all I've got for now. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and better yet, you can subscribe to my channel for future updates. And if you're thinking about buying a Tesla Model 3, S, or an X, you can use my referral code for 1,000 miles of free supercharging. I'll be sure to post that link in the description below. So, until my next video, stay positively charged.